kind of like mix and match in here to expand the world and kind of show how like a lot of your existing terrain is going to be like an expansion for this. So it's not very often you can like already have things and then buy like something else awesome and it's compatible with what you already have. It's usually the other way around. It's usually like whatever's new is not compatible, so you have to buy like all these new accessories. But with this, it's the opposite, and I gotta give Games Workshop mad props for this because the way they did it, they essentially allow you to use all this stuff in a compatible sense or with minimum modifications. You can take all your old stuff and still use it, like, you know, in these fun new games and in fun new ways, as opposed to just having to be like, all right, I gotta sell off all my old terrain on eBay and buy all this new stuff because it's the newest coolest thing. Like, no, you can just take some of that other stuff. Some of it maybe is already painted, definitely, you know, already assembled or whatever. If you're like me, you build your terrain and just literally put it on the table, and then you don't ever want to touch it again because you have a list of models that you'd rather be working on. You know, and I think that's most hobbyists basically. But you know, in this situation, you can take that old terrain or whatever, and all of a sudden you have like a nice little chunk or accessories or whatever for your new board. Um, you know, your new kit. So now you already have a little bit that's actually like kind of a jump start to your set. So you're kind of ahead of the game instead of being behind it, trying to buy the new thing, trying to get rid of your old stuff, whatever. So, but I mean, that's essentially, you know, that's awesome on their part. I have a lot of respect for them doing that because they could have handled that in a lot of different ways. And, you know, obviously creating a bunch of new stuff and everybody wants it. Like, it's easy to get people hype about the new stuff if it's cool, but, you know, to be able to get them hyped to use their old stuff with the new stuff and get to like truly enjoy it on the next level, like honestly I give them mad respect for that because that is so cool. And I mean, like, I'm super pumped. I mean, I have a bunch of other old terrain that I hadn't assembled or hadn't had a chance to build, or, you know, didn't really have a reason to build. And now all of a sudden, this stuff that I was just kind of like meh about before has got me like super excited. I'm not going to lie. So, you know, getting some of this stuff on the table for me is like, I think, awesome. You know, because I otherwise would have maybe got it on the table, maybe got excited about it, but now I'm like definitely get it on the table, definitely getting excited about it. So, and you can kind of see how these will line up differently too. So if you want that measurement right there, that's going to line us up. These two connected is going to line us up perfectly with the center right there. But if you were wanting to switch it, you could take this piece, have it going down, and then take this one right here. And now you're still going to get it to line up with the center, but where that pipe ends is going to be different, where it ends off the other side. So that's definitely an interesting little way you can do things as well. So you could basically set it up two different ways to give yourself like the different end point for the various pipes. And now here you'll see we have it lined up now to the center point right there to go straight across there. So we'll need to put a gap filler in this far part right here, or else we'll need to adjust with a gap filler right here to move it over. But that's why we have all these things, is essentially we have these accessories now that we can just plug in wherever we want and you know, make up the difference, you know, for the extension, or, you know, if we need to take out like a longer piece and put a shorter one in instead. So but I hadn't actually gotten a chance yet to show you guys how I do the magnetization on these. So we're gonna go ahead and do a little bit of that, I think. So we're gonna just show everybody here. So we're just gonna start with one of these guys here, and you definitely want to make sure they kind of like glue before you start like doing this, because the drill bit going in will try to like push them apart. But essentially what you're trying to do is you need to get the drill bit to start in the center of this little piece where the two come together on that ridge. So you need to take your blade and kind of take a little nub off of that center. And then once you do, once you take that out of there, you know, there's just basically a little like crater right there. And all you're going to do is take your drill bit now, and it's the same one, whatever size magnet you're using, and we're just going to line it up exactly in the center. And then when we start it and go, we're just going to keep it centered. that's just going to give us our hole right through the middle right there. And then we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Again, we're just going to take out just like a tiny little bit of the plastic in the middle. And all we're doing is just creating a flat surface basically for the drill bit to go down in there so we can actually drill a hole. Instead of it trying to like skip all over the place and fight us on every front. So now all we did was we basically just created our pipe with 2 holes in it, and then we're just going to take a couple of our magnets, get the right polarity on them so we can see how that is basically by putting them on the razor blade. So we want them to have the same polarity, so we're just going to take, clean that up a little bit, take a little glue, put it on the inside of the bridge where we're about to put our magnet, and then again just double check our polarity, everything's good. Take one magnet and we're just going to insert it in the same direction as the polarity we want to maintain. So if we want the same polarity as our regular one, we're just going to line it up in the same direction as our regular one. And if we want it in the other direction, we'll reverse it. But we know now we got to just push right down in there. And the reason you need to drill these out, or I do at least, is you could put like the magnet on the inside and just use a strong magnet and it will hold and everything will work good and everything. But it's tough for the magnets, like strength wise, to go through here. And by the time you end up doing it, if every joint on this board is double magnetized and you do a bunch of joints, you're going to have a billion magnets on this board. And if you ever drop everything, it's going to be like a chain reaction. Like magnets are fighting each other. Like you get to a point where there's like this crazy magnetic field and, you know, it's interfering with maybe your thoughts, but at least your gameplay for sure if you drop something. So there we got one stuck in that end right there, and we're just going to do the exact same thing on the other side. And again, you just want to double check polarity. So we got one side's good right there. Okay, so what we need to do is it needs to line up with the other side. So all we do is just set it there. It's the same polarity we just had because it goes in one end and out the other, same direction. And then all we're going to do is just put a little glue on that guy. A little shrapnel there. Not too worried about it. It's Necromunda, so sometimes it's just going to be some shrapnel. Alright, so yeah, we're just going to check the polarity. That's good right there. That's the same direction. So now we just want to put that one face down right in there. And that's going to give us the same direction. And I like this razor blade because it's steel and aluminum, so I can use the back of it to do a lot of stuff, as where if the whole thing was steel, I couldn't. So it is kind of nice in that sense. But you'll see now we can connect on this side, we can connect on this side, but we're reverse polarity, so we can't switch them the other way. And then everybody feels pretty good. Just gonna set that up, and that one is good to go now. So now, oops. Oh, I didn't do the side. I'm like trying to stick it on there. So yeah, I forgot. There's one extra one on this guy. So if you'll see, there's like a tiny little circle in the middle of this specific one. All I do is like take the tip of the drill bit and just line it up like really meticulous at first, right in the center. And then when you get it lined up, you can drill. Just make sure it stays right where you want it. Which is not always easy. But if you do it slowly and just a tiny bit at a time, you're good. And it doesn't have to be like meticulously like perfect, but you want it to be good, or else it's not going to sit like correctly how you need it to be. So and it's the same deal again here, where all my joints on this one go in the same direction, even on the split ones right there. So the split guy goes out. Now you could change it if you wanted to, but for me, I like to have like all the polarities done like this, so I know they're all going in the same direction. So now what I want to do is just get one more here, put a little glue just right on that little guy right there, right around the inside. Doesn't have to be like perfect or anything. And then we're just going to make sure we have this going the same way, which we do, and it's in that end, out that side. So then we need to have it coming out this way. And we're just going to line that up. And once you get it like kind of started in the hole there, we're just going to give it a little push. And get it flush as best we can. And then that's it, we're flush down in there. And then once this is all painted up and everything, you'll never even see that. You'll never know. Or else there'll always be, you know, like a little magnetized like cap on the end of whatever you're doing. So you never have to worry about it. Oh, did I do this one backwards? Oh, look, okay, I did. So look, I just switched this one. So I magnetized it with the reverse polarity of the other side. So now this one actually switches the direction. Which is not necessarily what I want. So the best way to correct this oh no, that is what I wanted. Let me see really quick, y'all. Make sure that I did this correctly. So that end I want to go to right there. Oh, okay, so everything's good. My bad. I thought I had mixed it up right there. But no, that is correct. So we have the polarity correct. That's going right there. Right there. So yeah, we're going to just keep going and we're going to magnetize these two bad boys next. And same exact thing again. I'm just going to take this out. Take out a little bit of nub right there, and once you get that out of there, you can see all we're doing is essentially just clearing the way to start a hole for the drill bit. Otherwise, like, you know, you start doing it and the drill bit starts dancing all over the place, and then your hole's like off to one side. That's why it's important to just start slow, line it up, and then once you get it lined up, you know, let it do all the work for you. And the little ridges on either side help to keep it lined up pretty good. Because you'll notice like the drill bit goes right in between, like 3 of them. It takes out the center one, but it's right in between the other 2. But I mean, just the amount of time that it takes to do this stuff, and then what you get out of it in the end, like the final product, it's worth it to just drill these out and magnetize your board. Because the fact of the matter is like, if you don't magnetize it, that's fine, and it's gonna look great and everything just the same. But the second you go to actually play on these things, you start knocking everything all over the place, and like, it's just a nightmare. Like, you'll just be like, man, I should have just magnetized everything. Because I know for me, that's like a huge thing. I mean, I can tell a massive difference, you know, between having a magnetized board and not. So, you know, the second you bump something and, you know, it all dive bombs. See, like, you could get that to stand up there normally, but if you would have just knocked that over, it would have just dive bombed completely. There's no way you'd been able to save that. And then, you know, you're starting over just building it, basically. So, I don't know. That's my opinion. Obviously, I think it's worth it, or I wouldn't be doing it right now. But I mean, the benefit of doing it on camera too is not only can I explain it to you guys like super clearly, but also you can see like the actual amount of like time and effort that it takes, and that it's really not that much. You know, and that I think sometimes like, you know, a lot of times like, especially with YouTube videos, people will do like a cut scene, and they'll like come back with like painting tutorials or like build tutorials or whatever, and they come back and it's like a whole different like freaking video. You're thinking like, dang, what did I miss? Like, how much of that time was just spent doing that off camera? If like the whole video is an hour long, you know what I mean? But it's like constantly going to cutscenes, and you look at it, you're like, is that like 10 hours to do something? Like, you, I don't know, it doesn't give you like a good gauge of like how long it takes or anything. So with something like this, you know what I mean, you look at it and you see like that little piece got magnetized in like